Surya?
Yes, I think Mr. Divya has actually set the tone for this discussion. He has given some very interesting statistics about the current situation, about the unemployment rate, etc. So the economy has gone into recession. I think that's a fact. All of us know that. And we have seen the impact on that on people's lives. So when a crisis of this magnitude and this nature hits us badly, it actually disrupts our lives. So what we need to understand is coronavirus or COVID-19 is not just impacting economy, it is impacting all aspects of our life. It's impacting of our life and lifestyle, it's impacting our profession, impacting our ecology and environment, impacting economy, business, politics, and everything. And while today's focus is about economy, what we need to understand is these four aspects I talked about: lifestyle, profession, environment, and economy. They're all intertwined with each other. We cannot look at one of them in isolation and then say that, if you only focus on this area, then I think we'll get better. Because these are all interlinked. As all of us know that COVID-19 has triggered a battle. It has triggered a battle between life and livelihood. So what is going to be the priority, whether it's life or it is livelihood? Of course, when such a battle is triggered, naturally, the normal tendency is towards life. And what takes a backseat is the livelihood. But unfortunately, these two are also interlinked with each other. Of course, if there is no life, livelihood has no meaning. But at the same time, if livelihood is not there, it is going to impact our life as well. The larger aspects of our life, lifestyle, profession, politics, economy, environment, they're all actually intertwined with each other. So the choice is between life and livelihood, today and tomorrow, nature and action, environmental pollution versus activity on the ground. It's you about your health and business. So these battles have been triggered, and then unfortunately you don't have a balance. In life you never have two extremes existing together. So it always either one is very high at an extreme position, and the other one is if you're taking care of your of economic activities, this could also mean that environment is getting impacted. But you cannot really have a situation where you have a high level of economic activity and also great pollution-free environment. It's not going to happen. So if the moment economy revives and activities start picking up, we'll also see pollution levels going up. We will see, the air, the impurities in the air is going up. You'll see our water bodies are getting unclean and dirty. So that's going to happen. And this is going to, this will continue to happen. Like we saw a very positive thing in the present times when people locked down themselves at home. We saw that, the pollution levels are going down, and then we saw that water bodies were getting cleaner, and then we got all kinds of reports about how the nature is actually smiling. So this is a predicament. The challenge is to do the balancing act. And COVID-19 has really taught us that we need to find that balance in life. We cannot be crazy and then be in a state of frenzy as we try to pursue comforts in life, luxuries in life, pursue money, wealth, and so on. This has taught us that we need to stay back and then look at what we can do differently. Having said that, when we talk about economy in particular, I think the International Labour Organization has predicted that about 195 million full-time workers will lose their jobs. We will see that this will also trigger a few other things in the economy. Um, we are going to see unemployment on the rise. We'll see people's purchasing power going down because unemployment increasing. We'll find some industries are struggling to survive, but at the same time, we'll see that some companies, some industries, some organizations are thriving. We'll also see, interestingly, new business models emerging. I think that's something which is going to be the highlight of our current scenario, where we are seeing new business models emerging. Organizations, companies, businesses have realized that we may not go back to the old normal. Post COVID-19 is going to be a new normal, is going to be a new norm, is going to be a new world. Old ways of doing things may not really work. For us to succeed in the new world, we need to have new business models. And we have already started seeing that. So for organizations, not just to survive, but to thrive, they've adopted new business models. So recently we saw ITC um, reaching out to Domino's and then started conversations with them. And they told Domino's that we can leverage your door-to-door distribution network because we don't have a door-to-door distribution network. You guys are not selling pizzas because nobody is buying them now. Can we really come together? Can we leverage your door-to-door distribution channel and then supply our groceries and make our groceries, our products reach the customer home? This is an interesting new business model that are emerging. We saw automobile companies manufacturing ventilators. We saw cloth manufacturers manufacturing masks. We It's not just restricted to governments. It's not restricted to business. We also saw that government, social organizations, they're also adopting new ways of doing things. Government of India announced that we'll convert all the railway coaches, not all, we'll convert many of our railway compartments into hospitals. This is a new way of doing things. And that's going to be the norm. Organizations to survive are going to reimagine, rethink, reinvent. That's the only way they can survive. If the traditional industries, automobile industry, they're not going to sell cars, can they do something else? Can they manufacture ventilators? This is an example. So those organizations which will reinvent, rethink, reimagine their structure, their business models, their way of doing business, they would not only survive, they will thrive. Organizations who will wait for the old world to come back, the old life to come back, they would actually may be in a situation, they may be in a state of denial, they might really struggle to survive. That's the reality. The same thing would apply to individuals like us, professionals like us. If we cannot reimagine ourselves, if we cannot rethink, reinvent ourselves, if we believe that we will continue to do the same work that we used to do, we'll continue to do the same work the way we used to do, then we may not really survive. So with this note, I will conclude here because we are actually in the next phase of the discussion, we are going to talk about how to navigate through this. But I just wanted to share a quick perspective of mine on the current situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Surya. I mean, the single line that I can draw out of it is pivot or perish. You either reinvent yourself or you are not there. Right. So that's a very interesting perspective to hold with and continue the discussion. I now request Mr. Ellen Prasad to come in and then share his ideas and thoughts and experiences till date.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatchan. Good evening, all. This COVID-19 or Corona has really taught a big lesson for all of us. People were talking about uncertainty. Yes, a lot of predictions were there, how the future will be there, how the market will be there, how the economy is going up and down and all. Some sort of predictions were happening earlier before COVID-19. But this COVID-19 has brought a biggest uncertainty. COVID-19 itself is the biggest uncertainty, and there cannot be any predictions at all. All the predictions, whatever was happening, has come to standstill. Before COVID-19, in 2008, we saw a biggest dip in the market. There was a recession. So the automobile market saw a biggest recession. Many companies' supply chain got damaged, and many people lost their job. But within a couple of years, we could regain. People who lost their job, they could get the job within 6 months. The GDP has come down, but now if you see, the recession is not there because of COVID. We can say it's a depression. The GDP has gone to the negative. I think for the first time in the history, people are witnessing this kind of situation. Nobody knows what is to be done. Nobody can easily say that what is going to happen exactly. The automobile market has seen the biggest dip. In April, we saw the zero sales in the automobile market. Almost in the first quarter of this year, 2020, there is a big dip in the market, like 18 to 22% of the sales is down. And now these percentages will not holds good at all. Coming few months, in case if there is no medicine or vaccine for the COVID, it will be difficult actually. Once the medicine and vaccination is found, definitely we are back, we can say, because the corona is one among the other disease. So we should be hopeful, because though there is uncertainty like COVID, anything can happen in the life, but always, as long as we live, we need all the amenities. The automobile market, the hotel industry, all other industries has to survive. It has to be there as long as we are there. We will definitely come back. We will definitely come back. There will be a lot of jobs back. We have seen a lot of people from the cities going back to their native place. Lakhs and lakhs of people are going back. And they are thinking that we don't want the city life. Let us get settled in the villages, they are thinking. But it may not be a permanent thinking. Maybe the days ahead, when this COVID-19 gets relieved, so definitely they will come back. Of course, there is a big problem for the export market. People who are depending on the export market, like the textile industries and all, garment industries and all, there's a big loss for them. They have invested a lot. A lot of people were employed there. Suddenly there's a dip. There is no hopes for them. So they will have to manage the domestic market. So there will be no jobs for the employees there. They will have to find some other way. Whereas if you see other way, post-COVID, because people are not going to depend on the imports, there will be lots and lots of new industries coming up in India. So many talks are already going on that many big companies which are European based, which are there in the South Asia, they are going to start in India. More than 300 industries are already listed that they are going to start in a big way in India. So there are a lot of hopes. The jobs will be available, definitely. The automobile market also will find its way. Definitely, the vehicles are required. Of course, the transportation is one big important, whether COVID is there or not. So there should be a transportation. Only thing is, there should be a creativity. Of course, the COVID has taught a good discipline that we need to be disciplined now. We cannot take the things for granted. We need to stick on to our own discipline, like manufacturing method has to be international standard. Otherwise, we cannot survive. So definitely, it will come. These standards will get back to the India, and India will see a very, very, very big hike in the market, and very big industries. They are going to survive. Now, presently, we can see that the all big automobile giants, because of the COVID situation, they are thinking of manufacturing ventilators, masks, and so many other things. For that, their supply chain is got affected. Their tier one, tier two industries are not having any jobs. There is no hopes for them at all. And the ancillaries for tier one, tier two are still worse. A person who is running a lathe or a milling machine, is, he does not know what to do. He may not get the job. A tool room where he wants to make a mold or a die is really thinking whether to buy raw material or keep it in stock, whether he will get the job or not. But this is only for the time being. Once the lockdown is completely removed, once the people are accustomed to live along with the COVID, definitely all the things are required and it has to come back. So there's no worry for any job market. The people are temporarily losing their job. It is not a permanent one. Definitely they will get their job back and we will see a very good future. And a technology, if it can controls the distribution of manufacturing, like if everybody wants to manufacture masks, it is not good. If everybody wants to go for a ventilator, it is not good. So the technology has to be there to see that only the certain amount of masks are required, certain amount of ventilators are required, and what amount of the vehicles are required. Like that, there should be a distribution, proper distribution, so that the people will get definitely the challenge in understanding the situation and definitely start manufacturing what is needed. Over manufacturing is also a biggest problem. And in this COVID situation, we should really thank government for bringing up lot of remedies. We have seen CECL and GECL are two biggest thing for the MSME industries. The Corona Emergency Relief Fund and the 20% general emergency relief fund is also a very big resort for MSME industries. Industries have survived today. The moratorium period given for 3 months plus 3 months is another biggest relief for the industry. They're able to survive. Once we are able to survive for another 6 months or 1 year, I think the next year is going to be a biggest challenge for us, and we can definitely do better. The presently the people are not thinking about expansion. According to the survey, 61 according to the survey of 380 companies, 61% industries are not at all thinking of expansion. Rather, they have deferred their expansion to the 12 months. And of course, there is no lender now. Though there is a requirement of liquidity, there is a big problem of getting the loans and all. Private borrowings are almost stopped. So these challenges are there for the MSME, and of course they are able to survive. And there's one more biggest relief from the government of the taking care of PF, ESE and all. There is also one important thing that people are relieved. Especially small scale industries are really out of danger now, I can say. Only thing is they need to find what is to be manufactured, whether they have to stick on to their own manufacturing products or they need to change the products. Many people are suddenly changed to the new products, maybe for a temporary purpose. They will go back to their own, and no need to worry at all. All the industries will survive, and all the products which they were manufacturing are going to be required again and again. And because of export market, only few companies are going to have a biggest challenge. For that, the remedy is the domestic market will definitely improve. I would like to stop here and look forward for another panelist to come up and see what will come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. Thank you very much. I think one of this thing that you rightly pointed out is the way India got into making the PPE equipments. Overnight we suddenly became the PPE suppliers of the world, and the way I look at it is the competition in the PPE and in the sanitization market, the way it came in, it sounds to be a very risky business at this point of time. And yeah, you have pointed out whatever is essential or whatever is the challenge that the manufacturing industry is facing right now. Primarily the disruption of supply chain, which is a major this thing. And one of the other important point you said was auto industry did not sell anything in the month of April, right? And I recall this joke, a classmate of mine, calling me and then saying that today my turnover is equal to that of Maruti. Yeah. I don't have any revenues and Maruti does not have any revenue, so I am equal to Maruti today, is what he said. And it's an interesting perspective per se. So with this as the key and the challenge that we are facing, seeing is I know not marginal but a substantial increase in the unemployment. It's very interesting. We have two scenarios which are sitting at the same, two scale. One end we have unemployment, and the other end is there is requirement of manpower, but there is no manpower which is available in the current this thing as the migratory manpower are the people who do the touch jobs, the smaller part of the jobs and things like that are have actually the reverse migration has happened and they moved back into their hometowns and it's more like the much sought after mass exodus kind of a thing, holiday kind of a thing, which has gone back and things like that. So this is presenting a different kind of challenge today. With this, I would want to go back to Mr. Divya Jyotidas and then ask him about how he sees the next set of things, or as the lockdown is opening up right now. How do you see things coming up, and what do you see that is going to happen into the job market and then the overall perspective of the market from your point of view?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Venkatesham. Really great perspectives there coming in both from Mr. Surya and Prasad. While Mr. Surya also went a bit deeper into the repercussions of the consequences of what we have been doing so far in terms of building our economy, right, both globally and as well as domestically in our country, right, and the importance of having that balance in terms of both economic prosperity as well as protecting our environment. And then he moved on to evolving business models, looking at the current situation, right, and then in terms of how business models are being disrupted, and it's time really for companies to change. Like for example, there are a lot of industry experts who have said, as well as a lot of research which says that change that was expected to happen over a period of 10 years, COVID has brought that change about in the last 2 months, right? For example, the kind of proliferation of technology. So for example, Zoom, right? Zoom, the market cap of Zoom has ballooned like anything, right? So the kind of bandwidth that was required, Zoom was able to, whatever it has expanded its server capacity in the last 5 years, it had to do it in 2 months. So that's the kind of disruption and change that companies were able to do, and Zoom has done well because it was able to scale up its infrastructure, right, while other companies could not. So that's that very interesting points that come up. And the second point was around manufacturing, like Mr. Prasad mentioned. Manufacturing will come around eventually, because these are things that will run the economy, right? Manufacturing, automobiles, all kinds of manufacturing basically runs our economy, and infrastructure is something that we need to build going forward to be able to become a global economy or a strong economy going forward. Right, so there is obviously a lot of opportunities that we have, both in spaces that are getting disrupted or are opening up right now because of the current situation, which is technology, and also in terms of manufacturing. But the real question is, what will be the turnaround time for manufacturing to really pick up from now on, right? So having said that, what's really important from a student's perspective, right, to navigate the current situation? Like all of us mentioned about, there are obviously industries that are doing well. There is disruption. Companies that are doing in the tech side are really disrupting a lot of things. There was a very good point around, either you disrupt or you perish, right? Either you change or you perish. So most of our e-commerce companies, right, are startups, are unicorns in India, right, like we call them. while they had to shed a lot of jobs, are also evolving and disrupting and innovating, right? Be it Dunzo, Zomato, or Swiggy, or Uber and Ola, are really trying to keep pace with the situation that COVID has put all of us into, right? So while, yeah, obviously all of them knew that they have a lot of fat, and in terms of over hiring, a lot of workforce that they did not need, they probably hired because they had surplus of funds. So they took this opportunity to restructure and reorganize themselves. That's something that COVID has done, probably for the good. Now there is a lot of opportunity for these companies as well, to leverage what they have achieved, right, in terms of lean, in terms of becoming lean, and in terms of figuring out what way to go forward, right? So there will be opportunities there. Uh, and companies and collaboration technology companies like, for example, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, Slack, right? These are companies that are doing really well, going forward, because and are supposed to do really well going forward, because a lot of work now is going to happen online, right? A lot of companies, for example, the TCS news that you have heard from the CEO and MD, who said that 60 to 70% of their jobs are going to become work from home jobs, which means that, yeah, obviously there's a lot of scope for for the technology companies to disrupt that field, that area where a lot of people are going to work from home. So what is required to set up a home office, right? What kind of technology needs that people will have? Obviously a lot of scope there. Apart from that, there are industries that are as students, like, right, uh, how do you select companies going forward, right? So obviously one thing that people will be more careful going forward is being wary of companies that are smaller companies, startups, right? Which might find it difficult to go through difficult times, but people will look for companies which have deeper pockets, right? Established companies with a lot of cash in their bank, that they can fall back on, right, during bad times. So that's something that people are going to look for now. And as students also, you should also be looking at companies that could afford to go through a downturn, right? And obviously a lot of edtech companies, for example, your Byju's and your an academy, are doing really well. They are making a lot of revenue. uh, you know uh, the CEO of an academy tweeted, right, saying that the revenues in March and April was actually 5 times or 10 times of what was in 2019, right? So they were able to almost more than quadruple the revenue in 2 months what they achieved last year in 2019. So that's the kind of disruption that's happening in the education technology sector, right? Pharma, FMCG, consumer are industries, including healthcare as well, are industries which are obviously uh, could be are called recession proof and could go through a downturn, because these are things that people have to rely on a day to day basis, right? These are consumer spends that people do on a day to day basis. Apart from, there's a lot of disruption that's happening in the healthcare sector, right? For example, a lot of healthcare companies have now started doing online consultations, right? For example, Ekin Care is a startup which has people. While Practo is a known name, but Ekin Care is something that's tying up big time with enterprises, right? With companies, where they tie up with companies for their employees, because companies are focusing a lot on well-being nowadays, right? Well-being and health of their employees. So that's where you can you get into the app. Employees can get into the app and then have video consultations with doctor. It could be mental well-being, it could be COVID related, it could be non-COVID related, any issues that you health issues that you have. You can have video consultations. These are companies that probably are will look to hire going forward, and there are opportunities there to be tapped for both people who are looking for jobs, and for students who are will get into jobs for the first time, or probably one of their first jobs. All right. The other thing that I would like to highlight is, while all of us have aspirations in terms of the function or the role that we want to work in, right, after completing our MBAs, but right now might not be a time to be really fussy about it, right? For example, I might want it to be get into a marketing role, but marketing being a discretionary spend, right? Companies are not really spending much on marketing, right? So probably if it's okay, if you can make up your mind, probably you get into sales in a company if you get an opportunity, and then look for internal transfers to get into your dream job, dream role. once those kind of jobs start opening up, right? The other is around a lot of companies are now looking at project based work or fixed term work where they do not really want to have people on their payroll, right? uh, all of us obviously want to get into full time jobs, but then this is an opportunity to get into those kind of jobs where there is a project based or fixed term job on contract, and then if you perform well you can obviously convert those jobs into full time jobs. This is the current situation basically demands employers to cut down costs, expenses, and these are certain things that companies are doing to cut down on their wage bill. All right. uh, the other thing is around there might be a lot of time, because probably colleges are not open, have not opened up, and it might take some time for us to find jobs, but we should not waste our time in this current situation. Probably you should look at take up pro bono or free projects, right? There are a lot, while they might not be paying us anything, but this adds experience to our CVs, to our profiles, right? Someone, for example, if two CVs come to me, one with no experience and one with a 6 month internship, unpaid internship, I would probably pick the candidate who has 6 months of internship experience in a company and 6 months of relevant experience, right? Job experience. So these are things that probably students can do right now. The other thing is around upskilling ourselves, like Mr. Surya as well mentioned, right? Both companies and individuals have to evolve in the current situation, right? It's not just companies, but we as individuals also have to evolve with time. Business models are changing. Companies are looking for doing things differently. There's a lot of focus on innovation and strategic thinking from employees. So as individuals also we need to move with the times, right? So skills which are transferable skills are obviously a must, like for example communication skills, how you influence people and things like that is a must nowadays. But apart from that, skills which are really relevant going forward, for example, uh, I'm assuming most of the students are from the MBA batch, so skills in the product management side, skills in probably in the analytics side are something which are very tangible skills, right? And companies are looking for those kind of skills where they want to be it sectors which are are obviously sectors which are continuing to do well, or new sectors that's come up, or tech fields that have come up, are looking for really good people who could who have the technology skills, who have the analytics knowledge of analytics. You probably are good at hands-on at probably a programming language like R or something, to uh, ramp up or set up their analytics capabilities, right? So these are the skills that probably this is the time to really upskill ourselves on and make use of this opportunity. I would like to stop here and allow the others to contribute.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Divya. I think one of the key things that came out was innovation and initiative. You said unless you are innovative and you take the initiative to take up whatever is on offer on the platter right now,
Absolutely.
it makes a lot of sense. Apart from that, this is the time to inherit some of the new skills that is on the offer in whatever role, whatever job that is, because any skill that gets in is definitely going to come back to us, at some part of our life and some part of our working life and our personal life, which will make a difference at that point of time. Yeah. So with this thing, I would request Mr. Surya to take over and then come up with his perspectives now.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mr. Surya.
Okay. I think Mr. Divyadrati has very beautifully and extensively articulated what we need to do in this present times. So while we're talking about the crisis, every stakeholder in the crisis has to play a role. Government has to perform their responsibilities. Financial institutions will have to perform their responsibilities. Businesses, organizations will have to perform their responsibilities. Educational institutions, universities, these schools like RNSIT will have to perform their responsibilities. Now, what the individuals have to do? Individuals like you and me, professionals like us in the panel, or students like you also have a responsibility. Your responsibility is to take charge of the situation. Your responsibility to take charge of your future, of your career. If you expect government will bail you out, universities will help you in placements, businesses will hire you in large good numbers, that may not happen. While they would do their bit, as individuals, as students, as future professionals, you need to take charge of your career. It's your responsibility. I think a very famous author and philosopher, writer, Charles Schwilder, has said something very profound. He says, life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. So whether it is COVID-19, whether it is economic downturn, whether it is an unemployment situation, that is 10% of what happens to me. 90% is how I am responding to it, how I'm reacting to it. So when we talk about tough times like this, there is another very profound saying. Some, very famous personality has said, when the going gets tough, only the tough get going. So my question to all of you is, in a scenario like this today, when the going is actually getting tough, it's becoming difficult, industries are disappearing, companies are closing down, jobs are going away, uncertainty is at large, going is getting tough. But for us to get going, we really need to become tough. Otherwise, there's no way we can survive. You might say this sounds very theoretical. These are all big talks. This looks nice in paper. But in reality, we are in trouble. Yes, this might sound theoretical. This might sound very verbose in a piece of paper. But my dear friends, this is a reality. Unless we get tough, unless we take charge of our career, unless we take the responsibility of responding to the situation that we are in, our life is not going to change. Nobody is going to come and change our life. So what is our responsibility at this juncture? I can recommend 4 things. I think there are 4 things that we need to do. Essentially, these 4 things are 4 questions that we need to ask ourselves. So students, if you ask these 4 questions and find answers to these 4 questions, I think you are sorted. I'm not going to give answers to these questions. I'm only going to provoke you with these questions. You would have to find the answers for yourself. But if you find the answers, I can assure you that you were sorted, you were taken care of. The first question we need to ask ourselves is, which industries, which organizations, which jobs are going to be affected by COVID-19? That's the first question. That's the first research. That's the first exploration that you need to do. Find out what's happening, who is going to stay, who is going to disappear, which companies will remain, which companies will struggle to survive. So Divyajyoti has given some examples already I don't want to repeat to avoid duplication, but you have a list of industries, list of organizations who are thriving, who are doing well. There are a list of jobs which are going to thrive. Ask this question to yourself. Question number 2. If I have to look at any industry, if I have to look at any job which is probably going to thrive in the new world, what skills should I build on? Is my MBA good enough to give me those skills, or do I need to build additional skills? This is question number 2. Again, Divyajyoti has given some examples. He has talked about flexibility, he has talked about technology skills, he has talked about innovation. But that's not an exhaustive list. He has given good examples. But the question that you need to ask is, if I have to look at a particular industry, particular type of job, what skills do I need to focus on? Question number 3 that you should ask yourself is, how do I find and successfully acquire the skills, and also acquire the emerging career opportunities. So it's not enough to decide on the skills. You also need to figure out where do I get those skills? And once I get those skills, how do I acquire those career opportunities? That's question number 3. Question number 4, how do I stay focused and energized during this period? I know this is going to be a prolonged period of uncertainty, volatility, ambiguity. The situation going to linger for some more time. I don't know when I would settle down in a new role, in a new job, in a new profession, or a new industry. Till that happens, or it does not happen, how do I stay focused and energized during this period? Again, I'm not going to give an answer. How do you stay focused? How do you remain energized? Each person has his own way of dealing with it. Some people depend on meditation, some look at mindfulness, some look at other ways of staying focused and energized. But you have to find answer to that question. And if you find answers to these questions, I think you are in a position to take care of yourself. I would repeat question number 1, what industries and jobs are getting affected by COVID-19 and what are not getting affected? Question number 2, what skills and competencies should I focus on, should I build? Question number 3, how do I find and acquire these skills and successfully acquire relevant or related career opportunities? Question number 4, how do I stay focused and energized during this period? Ask these 4 questions, find answers, talk to your coaches, mentors, your professors, talk to any one of us in this panel, but find answers for yourself. And I'm sure you will be on the right track. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Surya. I think it's pretty stimulating to hear you, point out to some interesting facts. They say self-help is the best help, and there's also this other saying which my grandfather always used to say: "God helps those who help themselves." Right?
That's
And
right.
the 4 questions that you ask people to ponder, I think, though those are more the soul-searching kind of questions which will take people into their long-term perspective and then make things happen. One of the most important point is we are at that point in history where the world will remember our generation, right? Like the generation which passed through the World War II, right? We are also a part of that. This thing. I mean, this epidemic is probably larger than has a larger impact on the economy as compared to World War II. Interestingly, World War II actually created more jobs. There were men who went into the armies and women who started taking over men's job, and mature economies like US and Europe and all those countries. Women workforce started emerging and things like that. We are, it's as rightly said, we are ambiguous as to what the future is going to be and where would it head. And it's a pretty complex situation, as you rightly said. It's a VUCA world. We are in that situation where the entire VUCA is, boiling, and we don't know where it heads, right? And thank you very much for those 4 soul-searching questions. I would now request Mr. Prasad to come up with his thoughts and views. Mr. Prasad, you need to unmute.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, perfectly fine. You're audible now.
Am I audible now?
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Thank you again. Yeah, this COVID-19 is really making everybody panic. Nobody knows what is going to happen. But we need to be really a creative. We need to be really a creative We cannot just think that, okay, something will happen, somehow we'll get on. It's not possible. The way things are going ahead is so slow now. It's not so fast. The industries are struggling. Many big industries are really struggling what to do, whether to make the products and keep it in stock or not. So the down the line industries are also thinking whether they will get the job from their customers or not. And especially when sales and collections are not there, the company's overheads cannot be managed. Giving salaries to the employees has become the biggest challenge apart from any other thing. For time being, bank loans are somehow managed, but there is going to be a big task once all these 3 months get over. There will be huge money to be given to the bank at stretch. That time, whether we will be having our collection and sales in hand or not is the biggest question. So we need to get equipped for upcoming challenges. So in this scenario, obviously all the industries, whether it's a small scale, micro or medium scale or large scale, they are thinking of getting rid of some of the employees. So already we have seen that many employees are removed and many of them are asked to stay home and work from home. And in many industries, the three shifts has gone and only they are working for one shift and all. Many places, the salaries they have reduced, and for employees also it is the biggest challenge. What they are thinking, whether they are going to get their salary back or whether they will be removed also in future, is the biggest panic for them. And those who got removed from the jobs are also finding it very difficult to get the jobs elsewhere. So this kind of uncertainties are still going on. Another 5 6 months are going to be very challenging. And as Mr. Surya said, the students need to just stay focused. That's all is required. They don't have to get panic. So they have to do their jobs as a student. And the students who have already finished and they are searching for job, they are really in task now. So where to go, which job to search is the biggest challenge. They will think that whether to get self-employed, but without having any experience, all of a sudden going for self-employment is also not big task. It's a big task. So those who have some creativity, they are coming up with some good products, it's okay. Otherwise, they will not get any fund assistance immediately now. And surviving is also very difficult for them. So obviously, they will be looking for some jobs, but they need to wait. They need to wait for some more time. Maybe another 5 6 months down the line, everything will get settled, and definitely all the manufacturing will get boomed, and everything will be normal. So then job also will be there, and there will not be any problem for anybody. So it's only the problem is only for time being. So we need to have hopes and way to get along with this. I would like to stop here and go back to Mr. Venkateshwar.
Thanks, Mr. Prasad. I think a couple of things you said is that this large time panic which is happening, then the slowdown, the struggle because of the slowdown, and of course the MSME loans that has been offered, or even the big industry loans that have been offered in the current scenario. The banks will come calling after the moratorium period is over, and we will all have to pay back and pay in a very big way, kind of a thing. Of course, the insecurity that this situation has brought in has been phenomenal. There's no doubt about it. And bootstrapping is the only way, as it looks like. So, lean is going to be the new mantra of the day, and we would all probably get into that kind of a scenario where there will be mass reduction of jobs or pay cuts or whichever way it is going to take shape is something that we all need to wait and watch kind of a thing as the economy has started to open up not just in India but globally also. Of course, there's substantial disruption of supply chains, both local as well as global supply chains, and new chains would definitely emerge. It's sort of a new beginning that we all have had. It's more like rebooting our computers after update or something like that is what is currently the scenario. But what is scary is we are all staring at job losses at this point of time, and it's a very dangerous trend because historically, when we look at and then see most civil wars or international wars have happened whenever there is this job losses which have taken place. Revolutions have happened because of people not having this thing as Mr. Surya had clearly said some time back. It's more to do with life and livelihood, right? When life and livelihood are being challenged or is having a situation kind of a thing, we stare at very strange situations as we are all at. Given this, as Mr. Das had pointed out, innovation is going to be the key, and being industrious and trying to learn new skills is going to be a very very key factor. In fact, it's very interesting. For 50 years of my life, I had never stepped into the kitchen to do something, and interestingly, the pandemic taught me how to or learn to cook. In fact, or just forget cooking. Washing utensils was something which I'd never done. It's something we try to learn, and unless we learn, we would not be able to make a major difference. With this as the this thing, Mr. Divya, you would want to add something here?
No, I think great perspectives from everyone, right? A lot of philosophical angle also coming in from Mr. Surya. Where we ourselves need to introspect, ask ourselves questions in terms of what we really need to do at this point in time, right? And no one is going to give us those answers. It's us who have to uh, get deep into what we really need and what really is the need of the hour, and then act accordingly on it, right? Obviously there is going to be anxiety, there is going to be a lot of stress, and we need to maintain that well-being in terms of whatever suits us, right? If someone is into playing, do that. Someone is into watching Netflix, do that. But keep focus on the thing that is the need of the hour. And I think all of us will sail through. Obviously these are, career is a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? I graduated from engineering in 2009 during the recession, and all of us thought that it was the end of the world for us, right? None of us is going to get placed, things are going to fall apart. But yeah, career is a marathon. You look back 10-15 years down the line, these are small blips that you see in the fabric of the universe, right? And given the right mindset and approach, will definitely sail through, is what I'll want to leave all of us with. Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Divya. Mr. Surya, you would like to add something?
Yes, I think most of the important aspects have been covered already. I think what I would like to add here is, I talked about the 4 questions. I think once we find answers to these 4 questions, now the question is, what are the few things that we need to take care of? First of all, we need to become highly flexible. We gone are the days where we knew that we had to go for jobs in prestigious organizations. If you're passing out from a grade B school, you look at a great placement. So sometimes in the past, students used to think, I need to work for this industry and this organization and this role. I don't think we should become rigid. Rigidity will kill us. If you look at different kinds of trees in the plants world, there is one plant called the bamboo plant. When there is a cyclone or tornado, every single tree has a possibility, has a fair chance of getting uprooted. One tree or one plant which has the least chance of getting uprooted is the bamboo plant.
Because it grows inside for 12 years.
Yes. It is highly flexible. Even if in the most fierce storm, it can still weather the storm because it is flexible. It can go along with the wind and it can bend itself and it can bounce back. It can again bounce back. It survives, it doesn't get uprooted because it's very flexible. I think flexibility is the key. I should be prepared to work for any industry. If I had some dream when I started my MBA, that's okay. I can look at that dream at some point in my career. Today is the time when I should be prepared for anything. If I have to forego my dream for now and then pick up a job in an industry that I did not think of, I should do it. If I have to leave my town, a city, go to another city to do a job, I should be prepared. If I have to pick up a job that I never wanted to do, if that's coming my way, I should pick it up. If I don't get a full-time job but get a contract job, I should be willing to pick up. If I'm not getting a job, but I'm getting an internship opportunity, I should pick it up. I think flexibility at this time is the key. Waiting for your dream industry, dream job, dream position indefinitely can be detrimental to your interest. So I think my advice or 2 cents should be that be flexible, be adaptive, be agile at these times.
Yeah, I mean, flexibility. There are two important takeaways that I can point out from whatever you said. One is flexibility is the key, and deep-rootedness. If we look at the bamboo tree story, the seed is unseen for almost 12 years, and all of a sudden it shoots up and then becomes big. In a matter of a couple of weeks, it would be standing very tall, and it sustains and stays for a very long period of time. So these are two things that every student or every career professional can actually ponder himself into and then see where how they can adopt. One of the other this thing that comes to my mind when you have been pointing to flexibility is the fact that steel, is an absolutely flexible material, or even gold. Yeah, gold is fantastically malleable, and whenever we are making an ornament of gold, we heat it, beat it, file it, bend it, do every possible thing, and then subsequently it becomes an adored ornament which has enhancing value all our life. Yeah, so flexibility is a fantastic keyword that I think we all should take about and be adaptive to the current situation, as Mr. Surya is pointing to. Mr. Prasad, would you want to add something here? Unmute. Mr. Prasad, you need to unmute.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Surya that the flexibility is the key important thing. And as you said, we need to be adaptable. We need to be, the adaptability and the flexibility and creativity, and we need to be disciplined. With all these things, definitely we can find solutions for our own problems and all. Whether it's a COVID or whether it is any other big challenges, we don't know in future what all the challenges we are going to face. So definitely, by being flexible, we can definitely face any unforeseen situations. And courage, we need to be courageous. We should never give up. If you start giving up, nothing is going to happen. Be courageous, don't give up, and be focused. Focus is another very, very, very important point. Without focus, we will never have anything in our life. So let us not worry about the COVID. COVID is going to go. Let us take the challenge of being disciplined ourselves, being adaptable, being focused, being flexible, and definitely we are going to win the challenge of life. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prasad. The one interesting point that came out and loud and clear is the discipline part that you were pointing to. Yeah, uh, discipline works where intelligence and motivation fails, as they say it in the management. Wherever intelligence and motivation is failing, if you have disciplined about this thing, it works extremely well. With this point, I would want to open the platform for questions. So, if the chat could be enabled, I think that's going to be an interesting point.
So the chat is enabled, sir.
So, anyone who has a question can put it to whichever is the panelist, and then whatever is the question that you would want to ask from the points that we have currently discussed. Dr. Rekha Jadhav. Best regards. Okay.
See, anybody having a query, please put it in the chat
Any
box.
questions, please? Any questions, please?
So there is a question, sir. Venkat Sham, sir, at the panelist, there is a question.
What certifications are sought after in MHA candidates? Mr. Rishikesh, could you just explain the question again? Hospital management, is it? What certifications are sought after by MHA candidates? I mean, MBA candidates of hospital management. Is that the question?
Rishikesh Rajpal, can you please clarify the question?
Or would you want to allow him over voice, Rakesh?
Hello, sir. It's MBA hospital management, sir.
Yeah. So in MBA hospital management, what are the relevant skills? Is it?
Certifications. What certifications are sought after MBA hospital management?
Okay. Anyone would want to take? I think all of us come from a different background. So at this point, I think we might not be in the right this thing to say that we are experts in saying what kind of certifications are required and things like that. Am I right, Mr. Divya and Mr. Surya?
So I would, obviously, like you said, might not pinpoint to the exact certifications in the particular domain, but be it hospital management or managing any kind of be it hospitality or hospitals, right? Some of the core or generic skills that's required is around project management, right? You can probably look at a PMP certification, which gives you skills around project management, or you could look around, a lot of work around in these industries is around, process improvement, right? Black belt or green belt or a Lean Six Sigma certification will also help, in these kind of industries. But if you're looking for specific to a hospital management, maybe you need to ask someone. This is also a time to network with people who are from the same industry, right? If you are really interested in a job in the hospital management industry, look at your alumni who are working there, or others. There's LinkedIn right now. Information is basically democratized now, right? Everyone has access to information. Look up on LinkedIn, but find out, what the people are working in the similar jobs or, similar industry. Ask them, about what they have done, what has helped them in their career. I think that's the way to, approach this.
Mr. Surya, you would want to add something? You need to unmute, Mr. Surya.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'm not an expert in that space, so I cannot direct to exact certifications. But this is one of the industries which will thrive post-COVID. The hospital, the healthcare, the pharmaceutical industry, and being a management graduate, I think opportunities are, as Mr. Dibajati mentioned, in project management, etc. I see a lot of digitization in hospitals right from the time a patient enters an hospital. Maybe robots will come and then do the initial temperature check and blood pressure check today, which the nursing assistant is doing it. Many of these things will be automated, including very complex surgeries, etc. So I think bringing with your management education, if you bring in some certifications around technology, I think that would be helpful. Building technology knowledge is going to be helpful. Most of the healthcare services will also become automated. Interestingly, I was looking at some of the reports which said in 2019 online healthcare usage was just about 1%. In 2020, in the last 2 months, the usage of these services has gone up to about 89% in UK. So I'm just giving an example of one country. So in a span of 2 to 3 months, this had just skyrocketed. So we'll see similar trends. I think so. Bringing in some certification in addition to project management and other relevant certification, I think building some technology knowledge in that space will also be useful.
Right. Dr. Guru Prasad has asked, sir, what faculty has to do at this point in time? One of the best things that you can do is keep your students positive. Yeah, encourage them, ask them, teach them how to be flexible and take life in a very pragmatic way rather than in a dream, fictitious kind of a situation. That is what I would want to add. Mr. Prasad, you would want to add something there?
Yeah, there's a big role for the faculties, as you said. They need to motivate all the students. You should remove the panicness of all the students, and if there are any dilemma in the students, what is to be done? There are so many questions that what is that? Can we do some PhD, or what is that right selection of the job, and all these things? So the faculty can definitely talk one to one student, and they can put some courage on the student that yes, they can definitely do some hand holding. Yes, you can contact some experts, and you can definitely reorganize your future. All these things they can definitely do it, and this is the time that faculty should be very close to the students and do it.
Correct. I agree. The major part of the college day is spent along with the faculty. So most of the active part of the day is with the faculty. So the faculty has to be more positive rather than sound panicky about the current situation. The other question that has come in is from Sagar. What is the best course to do right now to improve knowledge? Pressure here, commerce background. I would like to say something which one of my uncle, who was a very heavily decorated IPS officers in the country, said. He said, you need to know something of everything and everything of something. So it's up to you. It's your internal call, I would say. You need to take that and then take things moving. Mr. Jivananda has requested, what about education sector? Which stream is good for PU students? The way I think all of us look at it is every stream has an opportunity, right? If you are the right candidate who has the right attitude and approach towards what you're doing, you could actually take it. And typically, it should be your call from your heart. We at home, I will just share my perspective. We at home, most of us have science and engineering background, right? Our elder daughter decided to pursue education in dance, and she is currently trying to pursue her fellowship in Indian art forms and things like that. which is a completely different perspective. It's her heart's calling. So it's better to leave the students to look into their dream and then grow their dream rather than we butting in and interjecting and then saying or entrusting our dream on them to make them live what we couldn't live, kind of a thing. Uh, Mr. Chinmaya, uh, one second. One. I guess I missed something here. Can we advise to go for PhD if they are keen instead of waiting for placement or a dream job? Can we advise students? It's their call. It should be their call. Uh, that's what I feel. How well do jobs go for BCom degree students available in the current situation? HR, finance are two things which are going to remain constant. All other things are flexible, right? HR and finance are will be there right from beginning of the company till shutting down of the company. So there's no this thing at all. It's only a temporary phase where there might be shortages of jobs and things like that. But you could always find out ways and means of doing it. I'm on my way with PMP and Six Sigma. Fantastic, right? And one second. Which industry is going to vanish post-COVID in the panel's opinion? Sir, every industry will have a set of people who will vanish, and the same industry will have new set of guys coming in. So the inefficient are the ones who are going to go out. So it's not question of industry; it is question of efficiency, which is going to be there. Can we? One second. Now, in electronics market of goods like mobile and laptops, increased demand also increased. Is it boost to the industry in future? This I'm not sure about mobile per se in the post-COVID situation, or even the laptops or the desktops. Currently, people because they spend sentiment to spend has taken a shock. People are not currently in this mood to spend anything on latency. Whatever is the essentials is what people have been spending on, but not other things. We will have to wait for industry data, Dr. Kalyankar, before we actually can comment on it, because it is too premature at this point of time to say that this has happened and things like that. Yeah. I am a mechanical final year B. What are the job opportunities for freshly graduated engineer currently? Will they recruit? It depends. It depends. I think there might be currently a small shrink of opportunities, but at the moment the consumption increases, there would be humongous demand, and every industry would require a mechanical engineer, a civil engineer, electrical engineer are absolute essential for every industry. So there's nothing to worry about. I am a BBA student and I'm very much interested in finance specialization. Can you guide me, like how it is emerging in India? Well, there are so many things which are going to happen. If you are interested in finance, as I said, every industry requires a finance professional. Every industry requires a HR professional, a good marketeer, and a good sales executive. So these are all a set of things which are going to be there. So in finance, it's again a vast field per se. What do you want to take? Is it corporate finance, or is it managerial finance, or is it financial accounting that you would want to take up? These are things that you will have to look into and then think and then come back. Otherwise, it's going to be, it's more like this question is slightly very generic. So I think I'll stop it at here. What is the impact on international assignments post-COVID? First things first, travel is off. I don't, I think We would not be seeing people going on work-related travel for the next 3-4 months at least, until things settle down the way it is looking like. And even after it opens up, until the sentiment settles down, travel is going to be still a challenge per se. Uh, what would be the plight of degree students for another 2 years? Do you think contract jobs are safe? To be honest, no job is safe. No job is safe, and uncertainty is a certainty in the current scenario. So I would say that you should take up the job if it is coming your way. You like the job, you like the profile. You should, if you have a choice, you should take up the job and then do it. Otherwise, you can look at it later on. Mr. Das, you would want to add in something here?
No, nothing. I think you
Okay.
covered.
Yeah. I am a BBA student and I am very much interested in finance. I think we took this question up, and data analyst role is in high demand in future. Yeah, data driven decision making has always been a major part of a lot of things. So it's going to be it is definitely going to be a very important this thing. But one of the interesting thing that you need to look at when you're looking at data is the asymmetry with which it is coming in, because asymmetry will lead us to wrong decision making. Now is electronics market, okay, one second, I think the question repeated again. In this condition, will the industry hire freshers in big numbers? Big numbers, not sure, but hiring will definitely happen. What kind of industry, again, is still a question mark. Still, I feel commerce education has bright scope, yes. Due to COVID, it has led to digital transformation, yes. In terms of, yes, hiring and recruiting, a lot of things happen on Zoom, Team, Google Duos, all sorts of things. In fact, classrooms have been running on digital platforms, so there's no doubt it's an explosion of digital era right now. Thank you very much, Rekha Naikji. Institute should promote CME, CPD webinars. Yes, we should. It's for the institutes to take it up. Only a few chose their careers, but parents, I think, will have to guide them. But today's children, I would say, are much more informed than whatever we were as parents. They have much bigger exposure. We just have to allow them to think. In fact, it's very interesting that children who are 13 to 15 are pointing to something like taking a break, which we had never heard of. They say that they probably after 10th or 12th or a degree, they would want to take a break for a year, figure out what they want to do, and then go back and then do it. Since if we can afford it, I think we should encourage children to do it, because it's their true calling which will come out, and then it's their decision, and then they will start emerging as better people and better citizens in this world. Commerce background student, they can survive digital marketing field. Why not? What is so big about digital marketing? You don't have to build technology. You're only trying to create marketing out of it. So why not there? So master's degree is best after pursuing BCom. Why not? Education is something which is going to be there all the while. So I go back to my grandfather, because he always gave me a lot of tidbits. And he said, when you're dying, you still are learning. You're learning as to how to die, right? So learning never stops. So if you want to acquire a degree, why not? Thank you, panelists. Thank you for moderation. Thank you very much. What all things can small businesses can do to emerge after post-COVID scenario? First thing, as Mr. Surya had pointed out, you need to pivot. If your current business is not working correctly right now, you need to look at how you can turn your business around and then do something new, something innovative, something which you can express or you can change. Try to do that in a small way. If you have success, then start expanding out of it. Very information session. Thank you. Thanks all panel. Thank you. Thank you. Digital education is the need of the time due to the teachers training. Yes, definitely. Uh, Take home as if we want to see the change, be the change. I'm sorry, this ran away. Digital education, thank you. Opportunity. So if you want to see the change, we need to be the change. Perfectly right. Perfectly right. And thanks again. I guess uh, we have covered up all the questions that have come in. Rakesh, you would want to summarize? Rakesh? Rakesh? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Rakesh, would you want to summarize? Are we on time to close? Yeah.
Yes, sir, we will summarize. So any
Yeah.
further questions, sir, we will just mail it to the panelists.
Sure.
And so that you can answer the queries. And
Sure.
sir, we are getting an overwhelming response from all the participants here, thanking the department and the college for organizing this 3 days webinar. And thanks to all the participants for being very active and for being a part of this particular 3-day webinar series.
I think I also have to thank the panelists. There were quite a few takeaways from the discussions that we have had. I think my notes is pretty full with about 3 pages of single liners which I've noted from each one of them. And thank you very much, RNSIT, and special thanks to Rakesh for putting this panel together. Special thanks to all the panelists for participating, and the audience who were sitting in the virtual space in their comfort zones and then asking for this thing out. Yeah, thank you very much.
So I'll wind up, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you for all the participants, the panelists, all the 4 panelists, Venkacham sir, Ellen Prasad sir, Divya Jyoti Das sir from Lenovo, and Surya Prakash Mohapatra sir, for being an excellent panelist. And the session was really very informative. And a special thanks to Mr. Venkacham sir, who was the moderator of the session. And all the panelists, you had a very excellent and thought-provoking session on job market and the skill sets needed for the present youths. So, and on behalf of RNSIT, MBA, and also on personal behalf and on behalf of the head of the department, MBA, Dr. U. Bojana sir, we wholeheartedly thank for all the panelists as well as the participants, and request all the participants to please fill up the feedback form, which will be sent to the registered mail IDs. Only then the e-certificate will be issued. Thank you all. Wish to see you all for the further series of webinar hosted by RNSIT MBA in the future. And special thanks to the organizers of webinar, Professor, my co-partners who were there, Mr. Ajit sir, Mr. Kumar, and Professor Meena and Professor Jaswini, who were really instrumental in organizing this particular webinar. Thank you all. And hope to see you all guys in the further seminars which will be hosted by Department of MBA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent participation from all the participants. Okay, thank you so much. Once again, thanks to all the panelists. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. And in absentia, I would also like to thank our management, okay, who are really instrumental in cooperating us in order to host this particular event. Dr. R.N. Shetty, sir, our chairman, Dr. H.N. Shivshankar, sir, the director, Dr. M.K. Venkatesha, sir, the principal, and Ganapati Aji, sir, the registrar, and our dynamic head of the department, Dr. U. Bojana, sir, and all my dear colleagues who are very instrumental in hosting. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.